That looks great, Fran. We can see your PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay, right, good. Thank you, Laura. So we've already done introductions, but if we've missed you, if you come in a little bit later, please just drop a little chat on the line so that we can just get to know you a little bit. Let's start with a prayer. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us together from across the globe. It's such a privilege to be loved by you and known by you and to be part of your church. We ask you to help us to grow in our marriages and our relationships, to grow closer to each other and also to grow closer to you and to your Son, Jesus. Guide our discussion tonight. Help us to discern if you are calling us into this couples. And Lord, give us your insight and your wisdom in those decisions. And we pray, Lord, for all the engaged couples in our care and around the world who are preparing for marriage at the moment in very difficult circumstances. Protect them, Lord, protect their health, help them to prepare well. And we pray also, Lord, that you would protect us and our families in this time of pandemic. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So tonight we're going to try to keep this to about an hour. It's after 8 o'clock here in Sydney, so we'd like to also wrap it up by about 9. Briefly, that's our agenda there. We're going to be looking at, firstly, why be a sponsor couple, and then go through what the sponsor engaged meetings look like, and then give you an orientation in the sponsor course and a bit of a demo so that you can get a feel for what to expect and inside the platform. Laura will also show you how to create an account so you can get access to the sponsor course. So why be a sponsor couple? Laura, do you want to fill us in? I can't hear you, Laura.
Yep, absolutely. So, Fran, can you just go to the benefits of being a sponsor couple page on the PowerPoint?
Can you see that? Is that coming on?
No.
Oh.
I can just see the title page. Is that the same for everybody else? Just nod if, yeah, just see it.
Okay, I'm going to, let me see if I can do this. Okay, it's because my screen is going here. Excuse me one moment, people. I will just disconnect this and try this again. And of course, we did test this before you all joined us and it didn't. Okay. What about if I do that?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. We'll just jerry with it. There we go.
Okay, wonderful. So why be a sponsor couple is the question. Becoming a sponsor couple is obviously a voluntary position. So we do this as volunteers. But why? What do we get out of it? What are the benefits? I just wanted to share for my husband, Joseph, and I, being a SmartLoving sponsor couple has really enriched our own marriage. If we have had, for instance, we have a session with an engaged couple, and if we ourselves in our marriages have had a really busy or stressful fortnight, and we've both in that fortnight prioritised other things above each other and our own marriage, then we have to stop in order to go through the sponsor course in preparation for the meeting with an engaged couple. And we're reminded as we go through the course that actually our marriage, this marriage is our vocation, our mission, and that our marriage is the most important thing. That is a really powerful reminder, important way to refocus. So that is a great benefit of being a sponsor couple. Another benefit is being exposed to the content of the course, especially I have found, and my husband Joe have found, the conflict resolution tools. If Joe and I have had an argument, the SmartLoving course has been wonderful for us as a married couple to be reminded of tools and methods to resolve that argument. I just want to share a funny story. For one of the chapters is in lesson 5, it talks about 7 deadly habits in an argument. And one of them is called globalization, where you globalize the complaint to your spouse beyond the specific incident. So, for instance, Joseph, you always do this, or you never do that. If you use the words always or never, the course says that this is usually a sign of globalization. So anyway, we had a time where the engaged couple was coming over to our home. And of course, as the wife, I'm in a mad rush to tidy the house so we make a good impression. And Joe's coffee cups are in the sink. And I come down exasperated, putting the things in the dishwasher. And I say, Joe, you always leave your coffee cups in the sink. And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, Laura, do I always leave my coffee cups in the sink, or are you using globalization? And we just both started laughing. And I said, well, this particular time on this particular date, you have left your coffee cup in the sink and it's really annoyed me. And, you know, for us, this is just a really good example of all these excellent tools, advice, wisdom and learnings that we have by being a sponsor couple. Allows us to grow and improve as a married couple. So that is another reason I highly recommend being a sponsor couple. The other point is the benefit of building the parish community. So pre-marriage preparation is a time where many young men and women come back to the church as they see the church offering something that they see of value at that time in their life. So what a wonderful time where we can give a positive experience of the Catholic Church. I can give you an example of this as well. I had a high school friend of mine who was of Polish heritage, and her family wasn't practicing the faith. She wasn't practicing, but she met a Spanish man and was marrying him, and they were getting married in a beautiful cathedral overseas in Spain. And the Spanish priest had informed them that they had to do a pre-marriage preparation course. So now, because we used to be in a cross-country team together in high school, she still had me as a friend on Facebook, and she knew I was involved as a volunteer with this Catholic pre-marriage course called SmartLoving. So she sent me a message, and it was a beautiful opportunity for me to evangelize and share all this wonderful content with her and her husband, or her fiance at the time. That is the SmartLoving course. The course invites them to pray together as a couple. It invites them to consider the sacrament of reconciliation before their wedding date. These are really powerful opportunities to plant faith. So those are the many benefits of becoming a sponsor couple. And then on the next slide, there are other reasons as well. Obviously, we wouldn't be sending out emails and inviting you to this session today if there wasn't a need. We wouldn't ask something of you if we didn't have the couples who are knocking on our door asking for pre-marriage preparation. There are many engaged couples wanting to get married in the church, and they are saying to us, we want your help and support. So isn't that a wonderful thing to be able to say, we are here for you as a parish community, to journey with you in this very special time of your life and give you something really practical, this course, which will give you life-changing tools for your marriage to benefit you for the rest of your life. And of course, as well, if there is a need, our patron saint of Australia, Mary of the Cross of Mackillop, says, never see a need without doing something about it. If we have the ability, the time, the resources, and the spiritual gifts as married couples to respond to that need, what a wonderful way to serve the Lord and our Christian brothers and sisters. So I'll hand it back to you, Fran. That is a few reasons and benefits of why it's a wonderful thing to think about becoming a sponsor couple.
Thanks, Laura. Just a few comments, a little bit of background on what the SmartLoving sponsor system is really all about and why we're doing this. You may have heard, if you're in touch with some of the Catholic marriage education circles, this phrase of the marriage catechumenate. It's come up a lot since the two synods on the family that Pope Francis called, I think it was 2015 and 2016. Quite unusual to have two synods a year apart and then in Amoris Laetitia. And it's really, I guess, a different way of thinking about and approaching marriage formation. I think for many of us in our Western country, particularly, marriage formation, marriage preparation has really been reduced to an event, to doing a course. And the marriage catechumen is trying to get us to think about it not so much as an event, but as a period of formation that takes place over months. And it's multifaceted. It's not just divorce prevention, sorry. It's much more than that. Yes, we want to teach relationship skills and help equip couples with tools, but there's more than just that. It also includes spiritual formation, an opportunity to deepen their faith and learn more about the theology of marriage. And it's also a multi-part journey, so there's going to be several steps. We've always been very impressed in the United Kingdom a number of years ago, probably almost a decade. The bishops initiated a review of the marriage preparation, and they put together a great resource that really outlined that there were multiple stages and multiple steps involved in preparing for marriage. Here's just a few quotes from Pope Francis at different stages where he's really trying to reinforce this. That is why I repeat the need for a permanent catechumenate for the sacrament of marriage, which concerns preparation, the celebration, and the first years that follow. So again, this emphasis of going beyond just doing a course, but continuing our contact with the couple right into the newlywed years. Here's another one, important for engaged couples to have a possibility to take part in 7 hours of retreats of prayer, which involve as leaders, in addition to priests, married couples that have a well-established family and experts, as well as experts in the psychological disciplines. And one last one. The greatest efficacy of pastoral care is realised when their accompaniment doesn't cease with the celebration of marriage, but escorts at least the first years of conjugal life. So our takeaway from all of that is that we need to be thinking about this as really a more prolonged process over several months and into the newlywed years, that is comprehensive. It includes those relationship skills and insights, as well as some theology and spiritual formation, and that it's accompanied by couples and particularly by the parish priest. That's something that comes through really strongly. Getting practical about this, how do we do that? How do we make this possible? And it really comes down to having expert skills available at the local parish level. And it's a model we call centrally enabled, locally delivered. Your role as a sponsor couple is to accompany the engaged couple. That's the principal role, is to accompany them and provide hospitality, practical support and spiritual support. It's to be a role model, particularly in the sense of modelling to your own relationship and to your faith. And so bringing that witness to them and that example to them inspires them to do the same. As sponsors, you're not theological experts or relationship gurus, or you might be, but you don't need to be. You don't need to be, or nor are you expected to be, a counsellor, and you're not course examiners. So you're not there to pass or fail or assess the engaged couple and evaluate whether they've completed the course sufficiently. The criteria that we put forward for sponsor couples are listed there. It's married 5 or more years, regular churchgoers, validly married in the Catholic Church, not a close relative or friend, and there's natural affinity. These are, I guess, guidelines we put down. We're very happy to have some variations on that. For example, the 5-year one, we have had couples who we've initiated into sponsoring earlier than that because their marriage has been obviously mature and quite stable. We see this quite a bit with our graduates from the Engage course because they've had such a really strong foundation. They often get to a point of stability in their relationship where our judgment is that they're quite capable of providing that sponsoring role to the couple. And in fact, Laura and Joe were one of those couples. We initiated them into that role quite early. Close relative or friend, look, that's another really interesting one. The reason we do that is because some of the things that have been discussed in the course are quite personal. And if it's a parent or an uncle or an auntie, particularly the family of origin topic, can be quite difficult to have open and honest discussions about that. In our earlier years, I think we were only about 5 years married, and a priest referred one of our friends. He was actually one of Byron's, a groomsman at our wedding. to us for preparation. And we were happy to kind of support them and work with the priest. But it was really awkward when it came to, I mean, they were living together, and it was awkward for us to challenge them around that lifestyle because they were a peer and a friend. And we really, I think, in some ways sold them short on it because we didn't want to risk the friendship. So in some ways, having a peer or a close friend or relative can work against the integrity of the program. On the other hand, a bit of natural affinity really helps. So if the relationship doesn't have a sort of an organic sort of chemistry to it, where the couple sort of like each other and can enjoy each other's company, trying to find a sort of a balance between not being too close, but also having that natural sort of organic affinity.
And Fran, can I just jump in there as well with the natural affinity? If you have a parish that has several sponsor couples, it's brilliant because some couples will just bond better with others. So you can tell that when you meet them. You think, oh, that the parish priest could direct that and say, oh, you guys are quite a serious couple. You can go with our serious sponsor couple, or you guys have a great sense of humor, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, or an ethnic background or professional sort of backgrounds, whatever different mixes there might be. The course overview. So the curriculum in the sponsor course is identical to the curriculum in the engaged course. It's they're two parallel courses. The main differences between the two is that the sponsor course doesn't have time and progression locks in it. So when the engaged does the course, they're obligated to do each lesson in order with a minimum of 1 hour in each lesson, and then to pass the quizzes by 80%. We don't have any of those requirements in the sponsor course. Just to make it a little bit easier, we recognise that sponsor couples are coming in often managing busy households with children, and they just need a little bit more flexibility. Also, you don't need a certificate at the end to say you're okay to get married, whereas the engaged couple really needs to get that certificate that they can present to their celebrant to verify that they've done adequate preparation and formation. So they're roughly 9 lessons of about 1.5 hours each is the general time that it takes to do the course well and all the activities. Oh, sorry, it's fully online learning. So that means that it's fully self-directed, that everything is facilitated through the online platform. So the sponsor couple doesn't need to teach the engaged couple any of the content. You're doing essentially the same course and the same curriculum, experiencing the same learning tools in the online environment. And so there's no responsibility placed on you to try and teach or explain the content. That should all be self-evident through the course platform itself. It does have an imprimatur. That simply means that it's been reviewed and approved for use. Our Archbishop has given us the imprimatur, which means there's nothing in it that contradicts church teaching. It also includes access to our wedding liturgy planner and a fertility instruction course, and access to the sponsor hub in your case, or the engaged hub in the engaged case. And we have lots of tips involved there. We're going to show you that when we do the online demo, so you'll be able to see that firsthand. So you basically do the course in parallel as a sponsor couple and the engaged couple, and then meeting up to share and discuss after each lesson. I'm going to take a pause there just for a minute and check if there's any, before we go into the next session, if there's any questions or thoughts or clarifications that people would like. You can raise your hand. Laura, you're monitoring that, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
If you've got a question, just unmute your microphone and holler.
Any questions?
Good. Okay, we'll keep going. There might be more questions that come up later on. So the sponsor engaged meetings. This is always a question that people want to know. How does this work? What am I going to say when we get together with our engaged couple? Well, your first contact will likely be either by phone, or you might be introduced to the couple at Mass after church, at church after Mass one Sunday, if your parish is facilitating it. And so obviously there's a couple of things to do. You want to check that they have an account on SmartLoving, that they've registered and can access the course, that they have print copies of the workbook. The workbook is really important. They can download it as a PDF and print it, or you can order them and have them sent to you. If they enrol in the sponsor track, and we'll explain that to you a little bit later, they'll get actually 4 copies of the print workbook, 2 for themselves and 2 for the sponsor couple. Make sure you get their contact details and then set a date and a place for the first meeting, allowing enough time to complete lesson 1. Now, in some situations, you might decide that why don't we get together and do lesson 1 together, so that all four of you, 2 couples, share the computer screen and look at it and go through the first lesson together. Situations where that might be useful would be if you had somebody perhaps with an intellectual disability, or if their English was not very sufficient, perhaps an older couple who is a little bit intimidated by the technology, or somebody who's migrated from a developing country where they haven't had the benefit of exposure to a lot of computer technology. So you could obviously adapt to the circumstances depending on the needs of the engaged couple. Ideally, the meetings will take place after every lesson, allow about an hour by the time you greet and have a cup of tea or a glass of wine together, and then maybe 30, 40 minutes to discuss and unpack the topic. Ideally in the sponsor couple's home. That's the location or the foundation of your domestic church. And we like to sort of compare it a little bit to the difference between seeing, say, animals in the zoo and seeing them in the live. We have a property that we share with a couple of families out in the bush. It's 3,000 acres, so it's quite a big property. And it's mostly just Australian bush. And when we go down there, there's kangaroos and wallabies and wombats, and we've seen brown snakes, which are not terribly pleasant because they're very deadly, but goannas and all sorts of Australian wildlife. It's a completely different experience to seeing them in the wild than it is to seeing them in the zoo. I mean, as an Australian, we've grown up seeing those animals in our local zoo all the time, but they're very healthy in the zoo. They're fed well. They're well, they're safely behind bars. We see them down at our property, and you get to really experience them. And in some ways, it's a bit like when the couple comes to your home, the sponsor couple, they're seeing you in your native environment. They're seeing you with your children around. They're seeing the loads of laundry and the unpaid bills on the kitchen bench and all the normal things that is part of your life. And they're putting you and your relationship into a context. And that's part of your sacrament. That's part of your witness. So the ideal is to be in your home, but sometimes that might not work out, or it might not be suitable. Perhaps your home, we have one couple here in our parish who have 2 children and only a 2-bedroom apartment, and they said, look, we can't have people over, there's just not enough space. So they prefer to meet either in a cafe or in the parish, some of the parish facilities. So you can obviously adapt. Time of pandemic, you can also meet online and adapt in that way. How do we do it? Preferably couple to couple, but we have had some situations where there's been not enough sponsor couples, and so they've had 2 or 3 engaged couples, and they've walked through as a group and done their meetings, a mixture of individual meetings and group meetings with them. So you can adapt. These are the ideal that we recommend, but you can adapt them. So even if every meeting 9 times after every lesson is not feasible for you because of your other commitments, you might agree to meet after every 2nd or every 3rd lesson. So you can adapt it. The point is you can adapt it to your circumstances, keeping in mind this is the ideal. Let's try as much as we can to conform with the ideal and adapt when we need to. I'm looking for raised hands if anybody wants me to stop. Otherwise, I'll just keep rolling. Laura, you've got a raised hand.
Yeah, Peter had a question, which I'm just giving him an answer to. He said, we have 2 kids here, so it's pretty noisy in their home. I'd just like to comment on that, having the meeting inside your home. You may want to meet at a cafe or the parish hall. That's we've also done that as a sponsor. And Peter also said in the chat, Does the parish priest have to be contacted in the first instance? So I'm just responding back to Peter saying that when the engaged couple, if the parish priest is the celebrant, so the person who is marrying that couple, the engaged couple is asked when they fill out their form to give the parish priest's email address and their first name and also their parish, the parish where they're getting married, and the parish priest gets sent emails which lets him know that that couple is doing the engaged course. So I hope that answers your question, Peter. Fran, did I miss anything in that answer?
Look, I was just going to say ideally this is a partnership between the sponsor couple and the parish clergy to provide the pastoral care for this engaged couple. So if there's involvement with your parish priest, that's the ideal circumstance. However, we do get some sponsor couples who have been approached directly by an engaged couple, so they might be in their network somehow, family, friends, and so it's really kind of almost a private arrangement. And in that circumstance, there might not be any, the parish, it might not be a common parish priest. They might be in two separate parishes. It's not ideal, but it's better than that couple not having a sponsor couple. So again, the system is designed to have a fair bit of flexibility. Our recommendations around the ideal way to run things, but it doesn't have to stick. There's lots of different ways to get there over the long term as well. So you might start with a modified version and then move towards a different place. I hope that makes sense, Peter. I'll keep going if that's okay. If there's no other questions. Meeting format, you can see the slide there. So just before you meet as a couple, you obviously need to have done the lesson and the activities so that you know what content it's going to be. Prep the room and pray together. You don't need to do a big cleanup before the couple comes. Part of this is just being who you are. But equally so, I mean, you want the space to be comfortable and hospitable. So, if it's appropriate to make sure that there's not things all over the lounge, so they've got somewhere to eat and so on. And praying together again, just to stop and remember to just prepare spiritually and mentally for it. Once the couple arrives, the first sort of 10, 15 minutes is just hospitality and catch up. Serve them a cup of tea or a glass of wine or a beer, whatever's appropriate, and just do the normal things that you would when somebody visits your home. Catch up on life, how the wedding plan's going, how's work been this week, anything come up that you want to talk about before you move into the discussion. And now the lesson questions. There's a series of them for every lesson. They're printed in the workbooks. They're also printed into the course for the sponsor couple, and they're also in the sponsor hub. So we'll show you how to find those online, but they also are in the workbook. Laura, did you want to? You can show them in a minute when we. You might be able to see Laura in her little screen down the bottom there. The workbook has the questions in them. We'll show you those a little bit later on. I think we've got a screenshot on one of the slides coming up. There we go. Thanks, Laura. And obviously towards the end, you're just going to wrap up, set the next meeting time, and there's a lesson prayer that you can say or say the Our Father together. Praying together, setting a pattern of praying together is a really important part of it. The lesson questions should provide you with plenty of discussion material, but they're really a guide, and so use them if the topic starts to drift off, the conversation drifts off topic. You can use those to bring it back on topic. But if something really relevant is happening for the couple, and go with that, you don't have to strictly cover all the questions. And sometimes we've been working with a couple and it's been, they've had a fight since we last saw them, and they really want to talk about what's going on and get some help, advice on how to resolve it. So obviously we go with that rather than being rigid about, no, we have to stick to the curriculum. So, use your judgment around just being responsive to the circumstance, and you've got those questions there as your foundation and your backup. There's no reason why the conversation needs to fall into silence with nothing else to say. In your first meeting, there's a couple of extra little things for you to do to just explain your role. and particularly what you're not there to do, which is not to be a counsellor and so on. And also just to make a statement around confidentiality and mentioning, unfortunately, in this time of the church's life, we have to be aware of the mandatory reporting requirements. So if crime is disclosed in your discussions, it's best if you've set up front at the beginning of the course that you are bound by mandatory reporting requirements. Now, if you're not sure what they are in your area, because different jurisdictions have different laws, different dioceses have different policies, the best thing to do is to just reach out to your local diocese or your parish priest. Your parish might have a policy, just so that you're aware of it. We haven't had a situation where it's come up for us in all of our years of working with couples, so it would be an unusual circumstance. But if something does come up, one of the fiancés discloses that they were, raped as a kid or sexually abused as a child by an uncle, you can call your diocesan safeguarding office and discuss it with them, and they will advise you on what steps need to be taken. But it would be most unusual. And again, in the last meeting, you just need to remind the couple that when they do their final assessment, that they include the contact details for the priest or the deacon so that he gets a copy of their certificate and report. Some parish priests like to do a debrief, want to speak to the sponsor couple and get some feedback from them, and that's a great idea. Part of that might be around pastoral care for you as a sponsor couple and giving you the opportunity to talk about things that might have come up in the course for you as a couple. And part of it is also helping him think about how he can best support the engaged couple. In that discussion, just keep in mind your confidentiality responsibilities and divulge information and details if you judge it to be required, but avoid giving away information that really has been said to you in confidence about the couple, which really wouldn't necessarily serve them for the priest or anybody else to know. So you have to use your judgment around that. Some places, parishes will also look to have a joint meeting with the two couples and the priest or deacon, and that can be a nice way. It's often a celebratory dinner rather than a heavy session. What happens after the course? Well, for the engaged couple, there's a couple of things they still need to do. They have access to the fertility course, which they might take advantage of, or they might do a fertility education program, a fertility awareness with another provider. There's their wedding liturgy planning, which they may seek your advice on to continue the support. There's the wedding rehearsal on the wedding day itself. If it's in your parish, it's great to be able to support and be part of that with the engaged couple, to be a parish presence at those events. And then there's into the newlywed years, and we strongly recommend that you reach out to them after they've come back from the honeymoon and touch base with them again. We don't have formal programming for that yet, but we're working on it and looking to launch a newlywed program in 2021. What about if you get tricky questions? Sponsored couples are often worried, what if we don't know the answer? Well, we have a help centre on the platform, so couples can always go there, particularly if it's a technical related issue, they can't get the videos to run, or they can't find something. They can email us or chat. There's a SmartLoving chat on the Zendesk, they can do that. If it's content related, they can visit the forum, and we'll show you how to find that as well in a minute. They can also or chat us directly here. Sometimes you might prefer to refer them to a counsellor or a priest. So if they've raised a question around what do I do about healing from this trauma that I've experienced in my past, that's probably not something we can work with by email. It would be probably preferable to help them find an appropriate counsellor. What about if serious issues come up? So we've kind of talked about this a little bit with the mandatory reporting, but I guess the main thing is to remember that you're not expected to be experts or counsellors, and so you shouldn't feel like you're being pressed into that role. You can always ask, can you get back to them? You know, that you need to check it out. You could contact us if there's a local coordinator in your area. You could speak to your parish priest about it if he's part of the process. You can refer them on, or you can contact the safeguarding officer, depending on the nature of the issue. Okay, I'm going to take a pause just for a minute before I hand over to Laura to start doing the demo in just another slide or two. Any questions? Paul, Rob, you keep getting dropped out there. I hope it works for you this time.
Yeah, Rob's just written and said it keeps dropping out for him, so he'll tune into the recording.
Okay, all right, good.
I just had a comment, Fran, if anyone wants to write a question in whilst I'm Oh, who would like to ask a question? Who is that there?
Hey, sorry, this is Peter. I'm here with my wife. Ian. We've got one of our eldest is at school. The other two are here, so we sorry about the background noise. It's just about. I mean, this is kind of more formalities, I suppose. But in terms of getting this organised, I mean, I don't know if this is offered. It's probably in our diocese somewhere, but I don't know if it's offered in our parish or a local parish or something. In the UK, I mean, I'm sure it's somewhere, and I've noticed a few couples in the UK. But would you know, it sounds like a great resource, certainly, that we would have loved to have taken advantage of when we got married. My sort of question is, what would we have to do to kind of start this from fresh? I mean, would it be a process with the priest would have to agree to? Then there'd have to be, I mean, is there a process to getting this set up? Because I'm conscious it's probably easier in parishes where it's already present, right?
Yeah, and look, we're still at the beginning stages in terms of parishes formally taking it on. Which diocese are you in, Peter?
So we're in the Diocese of Southwark, which is like South London here.
Okay. I tell you what I might do. Can we connect with you afterwards or offline, or on a better day for you when perhaps it's not so crazy for you at home, like at your convenience. We have some contacts in the UK who can help you get started and talk you through the process of getting set up. Yes, you could certainly approach your parish priest directly, and we can provide you with materials on that where you could pitch the case to him. We strongly recommend that when you're trying to initiate anything new in the parish, that you present it as, look, why don't we just try this as a pilot and see how it goes? And if it works, well, then you're kind of coming from a position of a test case that's proven and you've got evidence of its effectiveness. If it doesn't work, you can kind of have, you know, there's no shame in saying, well, we tried something, it didn't quite work. That tends to be a little bit less threatening to the parish priest. He can say yes to that, whereas if you're kind of asking this, make big changes, it's a permanent kind of thing. He needs to scrutinise it carefully and do all the checks and balances, and it can get bogged down in details. So we can provide you with some resources that you can take to your parish priest and say, hey, what about next time you've got an engaged couple, would you mind letting Peter, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your wife's name.
It's Cecilia.
Would you mind if we, you know, we're a sponsor couple to them and we'll accompany them through the course, and you know, you can then evaluate it from.
Okay, great. Yeah, if we can get some resources or info on other in the UK would be.
We'll make a note of that. Laura will make sure we follow up.
Yeah, I've got a post-it note here.
Now, who's DK? The hands. Oh, Deborah. You've got a question, Deborah. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. I just want to say we're available and love to make contact with Peter and Cecilia. So about our experience. So,
yeah, we're down in Plymouth Diocese.
We're in Plymouth Diocese.
Oh, there we go. That's
since 2016. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Deborah. Really appreciate that. And again, thank you.
Great, thanks, Deborah. Yeah, happy to speak.
Okay. Any other questions there? It's another. No? Okay. Alrighty. Our next slide, we'll just have a look. Course demo and overview. So, Laura, I'm going to let go of the screen and get you to do the demo. We can't hear you,
Yes.
by the way.
Yep, I'm online now. Okay, so I will share my screen with you guys, and let's show you the SmartLoving online sponsor course in a live demonstration. So you can hear me, Fran?
Yep.
And I just want to, actually, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to do that again to make sure that I clicked include computer sound, because I'm going to show you a video. Okay, wonderful. So as a sponsor couple, you can get free access to the SmartLoving Engage course. You just need to type in your internet browser, smartloving.org/review. So I've done that there. Press enter. And you'll then need to register if you do not already have an account on SmartLoving. So this is the page that you'll see. So I'm going to pretend I do not have an account. So what I would do is fill out the form in my email, phone, my role as a sponsor couple. I'm going to tick this radio button. I'm a married couple willing to be a sponsor couple. My country. I'm going to choose a username and password, and this is what you will use to log into the members section and to see the course. So take a note of that when you enter it in. Make sure to tick the terms and conditions and tell us that you are not a robot, and then you click submit. So after doing this, you'll have successfully registered and you will be able to go through the SmartLoving Engage sponsor course without having to purchase the course. It also means you now have an account with SmartLoving. So to log into your SmartLoving account at any stage in the future, you just need to go to our homepage. So I'll just do that now. This is the homepage. Now there's two sections of our website. This is open to the public, and then this is the members section. So once you've registered and you want to see the course, you just need to click login on the right hand side, that big purple button there, and you'll see this login page. So I'm going to log in now with a demo account, but you'll log in with the username and password that you just created in that form. So demo. Okay, so it's just going to give be a few seconds to log in. So you can tell you are in the SmartLoving members section of the course by the SmartLoving members. There's a black line at the top, and that lets you know you're in the members section. You can see the SmartLoving sponsor course. And if you have purchased any other courses, they're going to show up here as well. So I've got some other courses that you won't see, but you should just see the sponsor course and the fertility course.
And sorry, just to interrupt, you get to this page by the tab at the top that says your courses.
Yes, so if you ever get lost, just click there and you'll come back to this page. So to familiarise yourself with the SmartLoving Engage course, you want to click on the sponsor course. And remember, this is exactly the same as the Engaged online course, apart from the fact that it doesn't have any of the time progression locks that Fran mentioned before. So you as the married sponsor couple can review the content quickly if you need to. So you can let's just go to lesson 0. You can see you can watch an introduction video there, and lesson 0 has some important administration tasks. It explains what the engaged couple needs to do, and the lesson reminds them to either purchase a participant workbook or to download and print the workbook. And you should do that too as a sponsor couple. You need to either print the workbook or purchase a copy, or you may be given a copy by the sponsor couple depending on which track they purchase as an engaged couple. I'll go through that with you later. It also mentions to the engaged couple about the quizzes, and you as an engaged sponsor couple, it would be great if you did the quizzes too. So in the first administration lesson, you'll see registration for new sponsors. Now, when you fill out this form and you click you fill out all those details and you click this button, register us and let's get started, an email will be triggered, and this email has helpful links and tips of everything that we have just showed you in this information session. It's just a really good reminder. So I'm just going to show you the email now as an example that's triggered when you as a sponsor couple fill this in. Email. So this is the email that automatically gets triggered, and it says, welcome to the SmartLoving sponsor course. It has all the reminders of how to log into the course, and reminder how doing this will benefit you and nurture your marriage as a sponsor couple. It reminds you your role as a sponsor couple to accompany the engaged couple, to be a role model. You don't have to be a theological expert or relationship guru or a counsellor. Here's a reminder of how to log in, as I just showed, a sponsor course with lots of resources and ongoing support for you. A reminder of what to do with your first contact with the engaged couple. Make sure they have print copies of the workbook, that they have an account on SmartLoving. And we also give you links to some FAQs, which will hopefully answer any questions that you might have. So I'll just go back to the course now, and I might just show you a little bit of lesson 1. So that's lesson 0, which is the important administration stuff. I'll just go to lesson 1, which is called A Mission to Love. And the key concept of this lesson is to love the other in the way that he or she most likes and needs to be loved. And I might just skip ahead to, there are several topics in each lesson, so I'll skip ahead to topic 1.3, which is called Love, a Gift of Self. So if you click on that, you can see the progress through the course by these yellow ticks. All of these are yellow, but if I hadn't have progressed through one of the topics, that would be purple. So you can see how far you've progressed via the ticks. They're almost like a progress bar. So the engaged couple and you as the sponsor couple would read all the content in each lesson and each topic, and you would watch the videos. So here is a video here, and this topic is introducing about how to love your spouse according to their needs. So I'm just going to play a part of this video for you. Let me just get to the perfect part I want to show you.
It's a bit like air and water.
Okay, so you guys can hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
We need both to exist.
Saint John Paul II described marital love as a total gift of self. This gift of self may be expressed in acts of service towards each other, or it may involve being emotionally open and vulnerable. At times, it may require us to be more supportive or nurturing than we feel.
Relying on just our emotions to make our marriage a success is a sure path to disappointment and disconnection. But if we approach our marriage with a mindset of being self-giving, then not only are we more likely to feel in love, it becomes easier to be self-giving. We set up a virtuous circle.
So it's important to approach our marriage with the mindset of being a gift to our spouse. Now, if you're going to give someone a gift, it makes sense to find out what they like.
Every person experiences love in a unique way. What speaks powerfully of love to one person may not make the merest impact on another. Your task as a husband and a wife is to discover the ways this unique woman and man feels most loved. This is their unique love profile, and the sooner you work it out, the more successful you will be in loving each other.
Byron's unique love profile is the specific gestures through which he most powerfully experiences love. And when I know these, I can consciously and willfully...
So I'll just stop you there, Fran.
Yeah.
As you can see,
getting into it.
as you can see, the videos are engaging and of high production. There's also a transcript for those who are hard of hearing. And then there is a reflection for the engaged couple before you move on to the next topic. And you can do that at the bottom of the page. There is also a take notes feature at the bottom right hand side of the course where you can take notes on the topic and save them. And you can see all of your notes. I won't do that now by clicking your courses and scrolling to the bottom of the page. I won't do that now because it will get me out of this. So I want to just show you as well, at the end of each lesson, there is a wrap-up session. and a button that says at the bottom of the wrap-up session of mark this lesson complete and take the quiz. Clicking this button is what triggers those automatic emails with the hints and tips for your meeting with the engaged couple, like the example I showed you from the admin's lesson 0. So once the and there's also, I'll just show you the quiz page as well. Once the engaged couple, new as the sponsor, has progressed through all the topics, at the end of each lesson is a quiz. Now, the engaged couple must get 80% correct to progress to the next lesson in the course. You as the sponsor couple do not have to get 80% to progress. And we do this not as a test for the engaged couple, but we want to make sure that they're being adequately prepared for the sacrament of marriage and that they're understanding the content and not just rushing through it. So I will just show, this is the quiz page. I'm not going to do the quiz though due to time restraints. And as I said, to get to the next topic, you're to the bottom of the page and click next topic. The other thing I wanted to show you was the forums at the top of the menu here. You can see the forum headers, so Smart Loving Couples and Smart Loving Leaders. So you would be a Smart Loving leader, so I'll just click on that. And then there's a section here, sponsors, that I'll click on that. And you can see there topic titles, and you can add a topic just here on this button, or you can reply to an existing topic.
Yeah, or add something else into the thread.
Yeah. So this is a great place to support each other as sponsor couples. And also there is just up here in the menu item, a help centre. Now, as you can see, you can go through some of the FAQs for each of the Smart Loving courses. So this is for the Smart Loving Engaged course. This is for you guys for the sponsor course, and the Breakthrough course is a course for marriages in distress that we have. So if your engaged couple have questions about the online platform, they most likely will find the answers here. If there is still a question that hasn't been answered in the Help Centre or in the forums, you can contact Smart Loving in this Contact Us form, and that will reach us via email. Or you can also call the Smart Loving mobile number, which is just here at the top of the page. We also wanted to show you the member hubs, so just here, and especially the sponsor hub. Here there are additional resources for sponsor couples, including a prayer for the engaged couple. So here's a prayer that you can pray before your meeting, and some FAQs, especially for sponsor couples. Do we need workbooks? When do we meet the engaged couple? Many of these questions we've gone through in this information session. So that's the end of the online demonstration, but you can work through the course yourself again by registering, as I showed you at the beginning, smartloving.org/review. And then once you're registered, you can log into the Smart Loving members section at any time, as I demonstrated at the beginning of this presentation. So back to you, Fran.
Yeah, Laura, just before you go, can you scroll back up to that page and just click on the middle there? So firstly, the Get Started, that has an orientation step-by-step guide. And the second one goes lesson by lesson. So if we go into lesson 1, that gives you a little bit of a summary of the content that's covered. It's got the discussion questions again. Those discussion questions are also printed on the wrap-up page of the lesson, and they're also printed in the workbook. So there's 3 different places that you can find those discussion questions. And if you go down, we've got the assessment question that will be asked on this lesson that the couple will answer in their final assessment, and the ideal answer and what we're looking for in the answer, and then supplementary questions for the celebrant if he wants to unpack that further. Further reading has more links. These are all also linked from within inside the course itself. And then in the grey box underneath, that's a copy of the email that we send to you after the lesson. So if for some reason you're not getting them or you've deleted it by accident, you can always find those in the sponsor hub. And as you scroll through that one, it gives, I guess, a more nuanced insight into what we're trying to achieve in each lesson, and it reminds you tips before your meetings. Sometimes with particular topics, we can anticipate that certain issues might come up, so we can alert you to those, and so on. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Fran. All right, I'll stop presenting now.
Yes. Now we've reached 9 o'clock. We won't go through. I mean, we prepared slides. We could take you through each of the topics, but really they're summaries, and all of that information is available in the course platform. So what we might do is we might answer some questions, and then if those that want to go or need to ask more questions, we'll stay online for as long as is necessary. Rowena had a question. If couples are enrolling, can they specifically nominate the couple they wish to sponsor them? Rowena, that's a really interesting question. We have insights from another group in the United States, Witness to Love, have said that's a really important aspect of it, that if you can give the engaged couple a measure of control in who they have as their sponsor, there's more likely to be that, I guess, natural organic affinity. One practical way to do that, some engaged couples will be like, well, I don't know who to ask. So another way to kind of get a good compromise, we think, would be that if a parish had, a pool of couples that they had qualified, if you like, couples who had said, yes, I'm happy to be asked to be a sponsor couple, you could bring that engaged couple to Mass one Sunday, maybe give them a bit of a blessing and present them to the parish community so the community can pray for them during their preparation. And then after Mass, they could be introduced to those sponsor couples. And then they could choose from amongst that group. That would be another, good compromise that kind of gets that. It gives the engaged couple a little bit of choice, but also make sure that the couple that they're asking is going to be someone that the parish priest or the parish community would be happy to have in that sponsor capacity. We do provide the engaged couples, when they register, we do provide them with some guidelines around approaching a sponsor couple themselves, and some of them do take the initiative and find their own sponsor couple. So I hope that answers it for you, Rowena. She's dropped offline at the moment, I think, but the camera's closed. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, it's me again. I just wondered about. I think after this, we'll probably at some point have a look through the actual course content. But I imagine the course is fundamentally rooted in the Catholic faith. And I think there was mention earlier. I think it was Laura or mentioned a couple that was kind of cohabiting, so there was a bit of awkwardness. Maybe that was yourself. And I just wonder what. I mean, in terms of the lessons, do they have? Are they clear about the kind of the Catholic, the sacrament of marriage and what the Catholic faith teaches? I mean, obviously, this course is rooted around forming Catholic couples, I imagine, not kind of right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Look, you might be interested. We can send you some links later on where you can see our efficacy statistics, where we get 85% of graduates are saying that they are prepared to abstain from sex until the wedding. 9% learning natural fertility. So we don't hold back on any of those things, but we believe that if you're going to present the Church's teachings on those, I guess, difficult topics, they need to be presented really well and really sensitively, which is where the video content really comes into its own, because we've had that carefully scripted. We're using lots of cinematic techniques. It's not high end by any means, but we're using music and imagery and metaphor to help craft the message in a way that's really invitational. And we seem to be getting quite significant success in terms of convincing couples that abstaining until the wedding is something that they really do want to do. In fact, I had a couple that I was in a coaching track with them, and she'd been baptised a Catholic but then had been raised in a Pentecostal church. He was an atheist, and their daughter was in a Catholic school here. They'd been together for 15 years, and now they were getting civilly married. And the civil celebrant had said, oh, you should do a course. And so they just Googled online and found us. And in talking to them, they were actually saying, we'd actually really like to become Catholic. He wanted to become a Catholic, and they'd reached out to their parish and hadn't got a very good welcome. So they were didn't know where to go next. And it came to the session on sex, and I'm kind of thinking, do I go there or not? I thought, look, I'm just going to say it. They've had it. I said, look, I know you guys aren't Catholic, but in the Catholic Church, we believe that sex is really reserved, is sacred and should be reserved for marriage. And I'd really encourage you to think about abstaining. And I said, oh, yes, we've already decided we want to do that. And I was blown away. Like, this was a couple who pretty much, I mean, she had some Christian, background, but obviously that sort of hadn't been playing out in her life in more recent years. And I think we shy away from making the invitation out of fear that the couple is not going to be able to handle it. But if we can put it in a way that's sensitive, and the videos help kind of, I guess, open the door and make that invitation more easier for the sponsor couples to then pick up that conversation. And I think there's just an innate sense in engaged couples that they even if they're living together, they want their wedding night to be different. They don't want it to be just like every other night. They know it's special, and they want their wedding day to signify something different about their life. And this is one really concrete way you can appeal to that natural instinct to really invite them and entice them into going to the effort of working out logistically how are they going to abstain from sex between now and the wedding. And for some of them it's complicated. They might have children, they're living in the same household. It's not an easy thing for them to work out. So we've got to be sensitive, and it's not our job to police them and make sure they do it, but we can certainly make the invitation and encourage them if there's an openness to that. Does that kind of, do you think, speak into that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was thinking of the same thing you were saying, of the kind of the difficult conversations, which, hey, I'm all up for having, but I just wonder how the course manages it, I know there are some courses which kind of avoid these subjects, and I find that not inappropriate, but somewhat kind of you're missing out something core about the faith,
Yeah, of course, yeah. We take the attitude, we don't hold back on it, but we do believe that it needs to be done sensitively. That's one of the advantages. We described the dynamic between the videos. When we first started creating videos about 12 years ago or more now, our colleagues were going, oh, that's so impersonal. Why wouldn't you just teach them yourselves and share your own stories? It's like, well, we do share our stories, and we do, we were looking at these sponsor couples, and we wanted to have that personal element in there. But our sponsor couples were just so relieved because we actually gave them the scripts first, because it took us longer to make the videos. And they were so relieved when the videos came, because they could concentrate on building a relationship with the couple and didn't have to worry about how they were going to present the content, how they were going to say it in a way that didn't turn them off. And so in a way, Byron and I on the video making the invitation is a bit like the tough cop, and they're the good cop with the bad cop with the good cop. They can focus on picking the couple up wherever they are after they've listened to this content, and then thinking about, what do we do with this? And that makes it easier for the sponsor couple to protect the relationship that they have.
And then the discussion questions are all there for you. So it's you're following the course, right? You're just going through the discussion questions. So you're not being the bad cop. The course is just presenting the questions, and we're just discussing them and leading them through that journey. Deborah, you had a question. You had your hand up.
Yes, I did. But I can also vouch for what you've just said, because I used to go hot and cold thinking, we're really getting on well with this couple. How are we going to do this topic? Yeah. And it's done for you.
The video is brilliant. Absolutely
brilliant video.
Works every time.
My question was quite a simple one, really. Plymouth Diocese, we are few people spread widely. Any hints or tips for how to get to those who can be our sponsor couples, to inspire them and get them to come forward would be really welcome.
Yes. Have we got tips? Look, to be honest, it's not an easy one. We're trying lots of different things. We're trying these webinars because we know that there are people there. We think our SmartLoving Engage course graduates are going to be a great source of sponsor couples. So we went through the other day and looked at, because we collect data from them when they do that final assessment, we asked them, would you be interested in being a sponsor couple, accompanying somebody through the course? And we had, how many people did we have? Because we did a couple of metrics. I think it was 700 couples.
Sorry, 700, yes.
700 couples who'd said that have graduated in the last 3 years that said that they would like to be a sponsor couple. So we're going to get in touch with them and start trying to encourage them onto that journey. We've got a lot of graduates from the UK. So I think amongst those, particularly in the Polish community, which we have the data on.
Yes, yeah.
So, we'll certainly be putting those couples in touch with our leaders like yourselves and Nigel and Rose and the Haynes. Are the Hales still there? I think they might have gone. Oh, yes, they have. Yeah, Joanna and Paul. There's another one of our leaders there.
Roger had a comment that pastoral sensitivity is really vital. Who were asking to be sponsor couples. That's really true. You don't want a couple, when Fran and I were talking, you don't want a couple who's going to say, well, you're going to burn in hell if you're sleeping together. Like, that is not a pastorally sensitive sponsor couple that you want as your sponsor couple. It's we've got to pick people who are quite emotionally sensitive and pastorally sensitive to journeying and accompanying a couple. So that's a good comment, Roger, about pastoral sensitivity that you wrote.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We really hope that parish priests, we're loath to put any more work on the parish priests. Those poor men, they're so overloaded, and we expect so much of them. But I hope that, by working collaboratively with our parish priests, that they can provide a measure of pastoral care and supervision to the sponsor couples, so that they can be do a little bit of screening, but also just touching base with the sponsor couples to see how they're going, because participating in the course does raise issues for the sponsor couples as well, just as it does for the engaged. It's a great growth experience for sponsor couples, but it will, for some of them, it will push them out of their comfort zone a little bit. So we kind of want our sponsor couples to be looked after as well as the engaged as they journey through the course.
Yeah. Fran, did you want me to just show the 3 tracks quickly, or are we running out of time?
Yeah, do you want to just throw that up quickly?
So we mentioned, can you guys see my screen now? We mentioned there are 3 tracks, and I just wanted to go through that. So this is on our smart, I'll just show you where this is, online courses engaged. This is where most couples register for the course, and there's 3 options for them. So this self-directed track, that means that the couple is just going through the course. They're not getting a physically printed workbook. However, we're not sending them a workbook, but they are required to print their own, and that's why it's cheaper. The parish sponsor course, again, is access to the online course, but they are also sent 4 workbooks. So 2, a pair for themselves as the engaged couple, and then another pair for the sponsor couple. So the sponsor couple actually gets a nice printed workbook. So that is quite good value, because the workbooks are $65 for a pair. So for $99 plus $65, they're actually getting another pair of workbooks for free in that package. And then, as Fran mentioned, she was an SL coach. That means that it's access to the online course and the 9 lessons. They can also have a sponsor couple with that if they want, but in addition to that, they have 3 coaching sessions with somebody from the SmartLoving team, either Francine or I. So that's just, if you're looking at the website and are a bit confused about that, that's a bit of a breakdown.
Deborah, yes, your hand is raised. Oh, your microphone's muted.
I think it was left over from
last time. Okay, all right. Any other questions there? Oh, Peter, we did respond to Roger's comment, but I think your line dropped out. So we might we won't go over that again, but we'll send you the recording, or we can come back to it later on if we'll do any other questions first, though.
Well, it's 9:15 and we're 15 minutes over time. Sorry about that, but I might just say thank you to all of you for joining us online. And can we just thank especially to you, Fran, for creating this wonderful resource, which is the SmartLoving platform that's so flexible for so many couples around the world. We're just really grateful. So thank you. Thank you so much, Fran.
Thank you.
And we will send you a feedback survey form, which to your email address. So we'd love feedback about tonight's information session. It's the first one we've run, so we probably have lots of ways we can improve it and to make sure we're not over time next time. Maybe it needs to be an hour and a half. But this has been a SmartLoving information session, sponsor information session webinar. Thank you so much for joining us in faith and in love. Goodbye and God bless.
Good night, everybody. Peter, if you don't mind staying online.